All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into a true giant of the road, an absolute American icon, the Ford F-150.
You know, this quote really nails it. The F-150, it's so much more than a truck. It's kind of woven into the fabric of America, right? You see them everywhere, job sites, farms, taking the kids on a road trip. So the big question is, how did it get to be such a big deal?
Okay, get ready for this, because this is the single most mind-blowing fact about this truck. For over 40, that's 40, consecutive years, the F-Series has been the #1 best-selling truck in America. I mean, think about that. 4 decades on top? So that brings us to the whole point of this explainer. How on earth does one vehicle stay #1 for that long? Especially in one of the most brutal, competitive markets out there. I'll tell you one thing, it is not luck. It is pure, calculated strategy.
Yeah, the F-150 story is really a masterclass in how to win and keep winning. So let's get into it. Let's break down exactly how Ford pulls this off. So the F-Series, it's been around forever, right? Since 1948. But let's fast forward to a really critical moment, 2015. This is when Ford made a massive, and I mean huge, controversial bet. They switched the truck's body to an aluminum alloy. People freaked out, but it worked. It shaved off a ton of weight, which meant better gas mileage and more capability. It was a huge signal that Ford was willing to take risks and innovate.
Okay, so here's the first major pillar of its success. I'm talking about its incredible versatility. Ford has basically perfected the art of making one single truck that can be turned into the perfect truck for pretty much anyone. And this is how they do it. Just look at this spectrum. On one end, you've got the XL. That's your basic tough-as-nails workhorse. No frills, all function. Then you move into the middle with something like the Lariat, which mixes all that toughness with comfort for the family. And then, all the way at the other end, you've got the Limited. We're talking so luxurious, it's actually competing with high-end SUVs. I mean, the difference between these two is just night and day. The XL is a Spartan tool, built to get beat up on a job site. The Limited, it's basically a corner office on wheels, with massaging leather seats and all the tech. But here's the crazy part. Underneath it all, it's the same truck, just engineered for completely different lives. And that, right there, is the genius of this strategy. But okay, it's not just about having a truck for everybody. That's only part of the story. The second pillar here is Ford's obsession with being the best when it comes to capability, and, maybe more importantly, really smart, groundbreaking technology. And you see that same philosophy in the engine choices. You want a basic, reliable V6? You got it. Need that classic V8 muscle for towing? No problem. Want something more modern and efficient? The EcoBoost V6 is incredibly popular. But the one that really changed the game is the PowerBoost Hybrid. See, Ford didn't just, slap a battery in there and call it a day. They did something much smarter. They integrated an electric motor with their already powerful EcoBoost engine. And what you get is, well, you get fantastic power, you get great gas mileage for a truck this big, and you get something else. Something totally new and honestly revolutionary. And here it is, 7.2 kilowatts. What does that mean? That's the power output from the Pro Power Onboard system. It basically turns the truck into a giant mobile generator. You can run power tools on a job site, you can power a whole tailgate party with a big screen TV, or, and this is incredible, you can actually power the essential circuits in your house if the power goes out. This one feature completely changes the definition of what a truck is for. And the smart ideas don't stop with the engine. Ford is constantly thinking about how people actually use these things day to day. So you get things like the Pro Access tailgate that swings open sideways like a door so you don't have to lean over it. The center console flips over to become a flat little desk for your laptop. The front seats, they even fold almost completely flat so you can catch a quick nap. These aren't just silly gimmicks. They're genuinely useful features that solve real problems.
All right, but let's be real. The F-150 isn't playing in an empty field. The competition, from Chevy, from Ram, it's fierce. These are all fantastic trucks. So, with a lineup that strong, how does Ford manage to consistently keep its nose out in front?
Well, it really comes down to a few key areas where the F-150 just pulls ahead. Yeah, the others are great, but right now only Ford gives you a full hybrid option, not just a mild one. And nobody else has anything that comes close to that Pro Power onboard generator. But maybe most importantly, year after year, Ford obsesses over being #1 in towing and payload capacity. And for people who buy trucks, those are the numbers that really, really matter.
And that truck for everyone idea, it even extends to the wild side. You've got the Tremor, which is a seriously capable off-roader for the trails, and then you have the Raptor. The Raptor is basically a street-legal desert race truck. It's insane. And what's brilliant is that the Raptor acts as this halo for the whole brand. It creates this image of ultimate, unbeatable toughness that kind of trickles down to every single F-150. Okay, so let's wrap this up. When you put all these pieces together, the versatility, the innovation, the focus on capability, you start to see the clear formula that has kept that built Ford tough promise alive and well for so long. Now, look, no truck is perfect, right? Let's be balanced. The F-150 can get really expensive, especially at the top end. It's a huge vehicle, which makes it a nightmare to park in a city. And if you don't get the hybrid, the gas bill can be pretty steep. But for millions and millions of people, the pros just completely crush the cons. That incredible versatility, the best-in-class power, and all that smart tech, it's a winning combination. So in the end, it all comes down to a simple but incredibly powerful 1-2 punch. First, unmatched versatility. Second, relentless innovation. You put those two together, and that's it. That is the winning formula. And that leaves us with one final big question. We see the F-150 Lightning out there, Ford's first big step into an all-electric world. But now, the entire industry is racing towards electric. The competition is going to be completely different and even tougher. So, can the F-150 do it all over again? Can it innovate its way to the top in the electric age and keep that crown? The answer to that question, well, that's what's going to define the next 40 years for this icon. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer.